Okay, now on this last one, we're going to create some blooms. There are other names for them like cauliflower, and sometimes they're a little more subtle, and other times they're a little more distinct. But here's how you think about doing them. And there's a trick to this to make them look kind of natural. First, I'm just going to put in some fairly wet orange. I'm going to try not to let this wash that I'm putting in be too thick of color. I'm sorry, of water. Okay, so it's just kind of wet, and I'm going to also charge in some red just to give it, just to mix a few techniques together. Going to be careful right out to my edge there. Going to grab some red and just kind of drop it in wherever I want to. And that's just going to kind of bleed. That's a different technique than doing the blooms. And while that's still real wet, I can just dab in and charge in a little more color. I could dab in some yellow or something in there, but that's not the point of this. The point of this one is you have to wait until the paper is deceptively dry. So let's see if I can get that reflection. There it is. See, that's still pretty wet. Let me get the focus going. Where is there? Oh, there it is. That's still pretty wet. Okay, I want the paint to be drier than that. I want the water to almost look dry. That shine has to go away, or almost go away. Then all we're going to do is drop in some very clean water. Just a couple little drop and a smear, and then just watch it happen. And with the darker colors, you can see it more. With this is kind of a softer color. See, it's still pretty wet. So I'm going to stop the video so you don't have to watch it dry. I'm going to come back. I'm going to be off camera for about just 2 to 3 minutes is all. Okay, it's been 3, maybe 4 minutes, and you can tell that there's still barely some moisture on that paper still, on this section. It's hard to catch it with the camera. There it is, just barely some moisture. And you want to know that there's water in the paper, but it's not on the surface anymore. So I'm just going to get some very clean water and just kind of go drop, drop, maybe a little smear, and another little drop, drop, drop. And then I leave it alone. You can start to see the little markings. See those? Don't touch it. Now, just leave it. And in 10 or 15 minutes is when it stops growing. This one, I just painted on right before I turned the camera back on while this one was drying. So now I have to, or drying. Now this one has to kind of settle in, and I'll do the same thing. So you look at these markings that are happening. I'm not going to touch them. I'm just going to let them go. Now, if you wait until the paint is really dry, you get a much more distinct little spot right where you put your brush. Look how these little branches are growing. You can't control that. Now, this isn't necessarily a way that I would paint a clownfish, but it's a nice little sample for you. So I'll stop the camera. I'll come back after I've dropped in the clean water here and after it's all dry, so you get a last look. Okay, the blooms are bone dry. I waited probably a good 5 minutes. This wash over here was even wetter. So I waited at least 5 minutes and then dropped some water in there. And you can see the subtle, irregular kind of um, pattern, not a pattern, but the markings that are being created by that. And that can come in really handy. You could do that and then wash over it again and do that again, and you'll just get these layers and different layers and colors of different blooms in different areas, and just really make a nice little modeled pattern. You can see that I'm doing my outline here, like I said. I can kind of give you a little preview of what the whole thing is looking like. I did this outline in a dark blue. It's totally okay. And the outlining is on another video, so you can go to that video if you like. And that's the last one.